Welcome back to this week's episode of Surgeon Interrupted. Surgeon Interrupted is brought to you by the Hippocratic Collective. Check out all of our shows and other content at hippocratic-collective.com. This evening, we have Colin back in the studio with us. I promise we have such a great roster of guests this fall. I don't want people to be very worried and think that this is the Colin and Frances May show. But it does give us a good opportunity today to just dive back in after sabbatical.
Yeah, I'm the backup plan. I fill in the gaps, but that's okay. It's a real job.
Every job's important. Every role on the show is important.
Yes, of course. Well, yeah, it's great to have you back. I was obviously over in Europe with you for some of the trip, but really not much of it, like a third of the trip, maybe, kind of right in the middle. So, we definitely missed you at home for a good 3 weeks. But yeah, nice to have the family back in place. You've come back a changed woman.
Yeah, I mean, would you say that? How changed?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you really got into the European sabbatical type attitude. You've definitely come back with less, I don't know, I don't want to say less urgency, but
less urgency. No,
yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Less urgency. And for transparency to everyone, I mean, I got a talking to from Colin yesterday that was like, okay, sabbatical's over. You got, it can't be like the south of France sabbatical every day. You have to come back to work. And I just really do feel like even, I've loved travel this whole time. I've really always loved it my whole adult life. And I've taken so many meaningful trips that were a week up to 10 days, whatever you can finagle with hospital PTO and stuff like that. But I do think that something really special and different happened with the freedom of 30 days. I mean, obviously they've debunked some of the old science about 21 days to break a habit and things like that. But I actually do feel things, I mean, it takes me 10 days to relax. If you just take me out of my regular environment and put me somewhere for 7 to 10 days, it takes me that long to just even literally unclench my fists, I think. And so some of the deeper work occurred beyond that threshold.
Yeah, I feel like even just, I mean, you were already pretty chill by the time I got over there. You'd only been there for probably about 10 days. But then certainly checking in with you, after I had come home and you were just oh, yeah, the whole entire city of Milan is shut down. I guess I just have to sit in this car for 2 hours as we try and go 3 miles. That would have given you a panic attack even months ago. And you're just kind of que sera, just full, it's okay, it's cool, it's whatever.
I mean, that happened, it happens. It was kind of mostly weather, a little bit shutdown related, but it was a nice car. I was happy as a clam. I really, I think that to kind of recap, I did spend a full month over in Europe and I hit a couple different spots. The itinerary was in and out of Paris, just because that's one of my favorite stopover cities, or transition cities. So I did Paris, then down to Nice via the high-speed train, which I've taken a few times now. Huge fan of. I mean, train travel is the best. We forget in the US, but I like the high-speed train down to Nice. And then we rented a car. I was in Nice for a little bit. Colin came and met me there. We rented a car. He drove. You could not pay me to drive over there. But then Colin drove us down to Saint-Tropez, then down to Saint Mandrier and Mandrier-sur-Mer. Then we drove back to Nice, returned the rental car. Colin flew home. He went in and out through Nice. And then I went on to Milan and then Lugano, back to Milan, flew to Paris. And I was in Milan for Milan Fashion Week and in Paris for Paris Fashion Week. And that was a really cool energy to witness.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was, I feel like you got a pretty full European experience. And I mean, you were in quite different places as well. Just comparing Paris to, the sleepy kind of coastal French towns we were in, and then all of a sudden you were staying in like dead center of the city in Milan and out to the lakes. Like you're kind of all over the place. Um, I feel like it definitely let you reset, certainly from just um, a work-life balance setup, right? Where you had to force yourself to say, well, if I'm going to work today, I'm only going to keep it to a certain amount of time because this is such like a beautiful place I'm in, or there's such interesting stuff that I want to do that I cannot be spending this entire vacation, just holed up in a hotel room and working or on my phone or playing games or whatever, which I'm sure is a tough transition coming back here where you're like, oh yeah, I can just hang out all morning and, it's like, it's not quite the same schedule. Plus I feel like when you're back here, part of the kind of European mode is like, we stayed up pretty late most nights, it's kind of like a lazy morning, things shut down a little bit in the middle of the day, but then you're kind of eating a late dinner and you're up late, and like oftentimes we were kind of working at night. But now that we're back here, it's like we go to bed at 9 o'clock, so you've got less time of the day, maybe just like awake hours
by design. But no, I mean, it's been good. Beignet woke me up at 4 a.m. today, and I've been up since 4. So I mean, we're trying to shift our hours earlier here, but no, I think that the really, really important thing, some of my takeaways are that, like, I loved this quote that said, you don't need more time to heal. You just need to show your nervous system a new reality. And I found that to be very true. Like, yes, tincture of time. I think that does something. I think that can be quite a salve for all sorts of different things in my life. And I mean, yeah, it's something, but I also do feel like my healing accelerated and came full circle and maybe went to a totally new place because of showing my nervous system like such a different environment. And like, okay, it is safe to put yourself out there. It's safe to ask a question. It's safe to try a weird food. I actually had my first oyster ever in Paris.
Yeah. I feel like the major just basic difference I saw in this trip versus things we've done in the past, or even just like our normal day to day before you went on this, is your willingness to just go out and try something on your own. I feel like even over the past few years, you're willing to do that when I'm there and we can try something new, or we can go to a new city or whatever without specific expectations. But before that, and even when you planned this trip, I feel like you had a lot of stuff planned like to the day. And it was like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to arrive in this city and then boom, 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 I've got this restaurant booked. And then about halfway through, you were like, I don't know, maybe I'll do that, maybe not. Oh, it's a nice day. I think I'll go walk into town. That was just such a huge shift, even on just the back end of your trip, that I don't think you've ever done that before, where you've just woken up and been like, I was planning on doing this, but I don't feel like it. I'm going to do this instead.
Yeah, like I really have had historically such rigid timetables, and it's very true. Like, and I could just not handle it if we got off the timetables. But I feel like the huge difference is that I'm like living proof. I'm an example of when I had a career that I really hated, all of my time, I became uber controlling. I mean, I already like as a kid, before I had any career, I was like pretty bossy and controlling. So not a good start. And then medicine just like really amplified that to the point that this is something we all do, right? Like, and you have such no control over your life most of the whole time in medicine, like especially during the training years, like you just have no say and no control. And so then for all of my other time, I was trying to control it to a degree that is just frankly not realistic. So I pretty much set myself up for failure, like most days and all trips and things like that. But that I really just do have a different level of peace. Like I don't, and the way I would describe it is that I don't feel like I'm running from anything. So if I get stuck in a car or I go for an interesting walk and then I get rained on during the walk and then I end up in an unexpected part of town, like that's all fine. Cause I just don't, I literally am not that attached to it. I feel like the pressure that I was putting on the timetables was like, this better heal me. This better fulfill me. Cause like I'm not fulfilled otherwise.
Yeah, it was like you were almost acting out a play. You weren't just going on a vacation to relax. We'd go on like a beach vacation. We'd be in some beautiful hotel or resort in Cabo or wherever. But you had decided that what you needed on this trip was like you'd been in hospital scrubs and just felt gross for so many months. So the point of this trip was that we were bringing down these 3 dresses. And really the whole point of the trip was to get the 3 perfect pictures and videos in those dresses. Everything else was kind of secondary. And if we didn't come back with that specific thing and it wasn't put into this little box, then it was not a good vacation. And that did just put a ton of pressure on yourself that it had to be like exactly what you envisioned going into it. And if there were any curveballs while we were there, then it was in your mind, the trip was ruined a lot of times, even halfway through it.
Yeah, I mean, calling it a play is probably fairly apt. And the other thing, I always say this, right? Like social media isn't real because like even during residency, some of my girlfriends, from home, like people who weren't in Missouri with me, they'd be like, I loved your pictures, that looked really cool. I thought, um, love the dress, the backdrop, whatever, like that looked cool. And I would always be like, my sim is very happy. That's literally that is what it felt like.
Yeah,
It felt like I built an entire online world, like my sim was like the person on Instagram, and like she was okay. She was like doing okay and doing some of the stuff that I wanted to do. And I was like, trapped in the sunken place.
yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. You basically had your like avatar who was going on vacation, and you just kind of turned your brain off for 7 days. Yeah,
I never
you weren't
clocked out though.
experiencing it.
No,
Yeah.
but like my avatar would go on trips. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Whereas I definitely that was not this trip for you. Like this really seemed like the only time where you just actually lived it and experienced it, and you love to take pictures and document stuff, but this one felt very much just like it was a little bit more for you. And you would just sort of send me pictures of like, hey, I'm here. And it would just be a picture that you snapped real quick. It wasn't like, that seemed at least like a whole production. And that was the whole point of going to this one specific place or the lookout point
overly
or whatever
produced.
it is.
I mean, I did a couple like little photo shoots because it is true that like genuinely for fun, if I have like the right setting and the right and the free champagne that they give you, then like I will set up like a mini photo shoot. But I was just doing that stuff. I agree with you. Like it was for fun and it wasn't like for a fit typically.
Right. Yeah. Okay. What would you have done? Is there anything you would have done differently? Like so you've done this trip now knowing how it went and how you kind of came back from it. If you were to like restart it right now, would you have done anything differently, or you think it was like a pretty optimal month-long trip?
A couple, like I'll give specific examples of discrete actions that I took because it's not all, I know that it's so nebulous and it sounds froofy to just be like, I got to know myself better on the inside. Like that, that's not anything and it's not actionable. But I did go in with some like clear ideas of a couple bad habits I wanted to break and a couple good habits that I wanted to build into my routine. Did I perfect all of them? No. One example is that a few years ago, I read an interview with Jennifer Aniston, and they were like going through a day in her life with her. And I remember she talked about she wakes up in the morning, and for the first hour of the day that she's awake, she does not touch or look at her phone. And that literally like resonated with me so much. I was like, come on, that's crazy. Like you would have to be Jennifer Aniston to be able to live that way. Certainly, right? Like as an ENT, one who's like on call all the time. I mean, yeah, it was incomprehensible, but I also am a huge fan of like the whole line of thinking that's like, pay attention to stuff that makes you jealous because that's like the universe showing you what you want and what can be possible for you. Because like that one really hit home for me. And I will tell you that I worked hard to do that during sabbatical. Did I kill it 30 out of 30 days? I mean, no, I don't think so. But 25 or more maybe. So like I made an honest effort. I kind of showed myself that it was possible for me. Like, I'm not Jennifer Aniston, and yet I created an environment and conditions to where I could do that. And it honestly felt amazing. I have not lived that way or done that. I have not like woken up and not picked up my phone since maybe when I got the first iPhone in high school. So like that was really huge for me, and I want to continue to like carry that forward. And it's totally plausible because yes, I do work with people in like a lot of different time zones, but I wake up early in the morning. There's just literally not a need for me to be on it for the first hour. It's like such a crutch that
Yeah, it is.
also.
It is nice when you're like 7 hours ahead of everyone and no one's awake. It certainly makes it easier when you're on a European time zone. But for sure, when you don't have, you know, a patient list to look at the first thing that you wake up, it's like, yeah, you actually don't need to do it. Like, just
Yeah, and I just also, though, even did it as numbing. Like, when I
right.
just was so miserable in life, I feel like the pain that I felt started upon waking hours. So,
Mm.
like, okay, now I'm on Reddit scrolling, or I'm just literally trying to, like, dissociate from, uh, like, the moment my eyes open to the moment that they close. Like, I literally was the person who just, like, was reading until they would fall asleep. Because I didn't want to feel anything or be there at all. So I think that that was really helpful. And then, of course, like really removing mail from my home screen on the iPhone, like it used to live at the bottom banner. And I have that habit from residency. And I used to check my email all the time in residency. And it just really like reinforced this kind of like pathologic email checking. And I, basically still have it on my phone. It just doesn't need to be on the home screen, certainly not in like the priority banner. And that feels really good. I know that, I mean, it's not groundbreaking because I'm like, if you don't check your email twice an hour, every hour, it frees up some time to like enjoy life. And I'm sure people are like, are you okay? How are you like hobbling along for so long that way? But those are just examples of discrete things. So if I could go back, would I do anything differently? Honestly, no. If I could start like a follow up, like sabbatical 2 for another 30 days now, that would be awesome. I'm going to put in my application for that, submit a request form, but
Mhm.
I would definitely just try to like build off of everything that was done. Cause again, I think I had like a lot of compassion for myself. I like still occasionally fell into some like older bad habits, but really not too bad. I do have like some anxious like skin picking tendencies, and you know, not that glamorous to talk about. We don't have to go into it, but like that was also a very discreet thing where I feel like I gave myself space to like notice triggers. I was very motivated to not do it. I mean, all those years I was just still in medicine. If Colin's like, you're doing it again, don't do that, I would be like, just let me do, just let me do this. This is like the least of my problems. So not having it, like it's very when people have those tendencies, they're just like self-soothing mechanisms, like usually pretty old ingrained ones. And so I think that that was like a really big deal, and that didn't happen in a vacuum. I don't think that somebody like with that habit can just like leave the country for 30 days and come back, but I think it's the culmination of like all of the therapy and healing and changing jobs and then 30 days away.
Yeah. Do you think that you could be like a digital nomad? Like, could you have fully adopted that life? I feel like it was still a little grating for you when you actually had to work or do meetings. I mean, we were in a lot of very beautiful settings, so it might be easier if we were just in the city versus, we're looking at the ocean and you're like, ah, crap, I got to take a meeting.
Um, I honestly don't mind that. I agree with you. Like, I think if we were gonna be somewhere for 3 months, yeah, I don't mind. And again, like, showing up to work, I do inherently like work. And so if I'm showing up like, oh, this thing's on the calendar, or I have this duty, a commitment that I've made, and I'm getting paid for it, like, yeah, I'll show up with bells on. So I don't feel like that was a big issue. Um, I do think that when I am just on the road for like very long, I just start to kind of get weird rashes and stuff. We've talked about like, because I have some different like contact irritations. I mean, every time I one time spent 10 days in Mexico that ended in like, kind of like wheels. Like I'm talking like an
Yeah.
urticarial type thing. And then same thing, I spent one time like 8 days in New Orleans and same thing happened. And really like the last few days of this trip, like I had a weird cut. I had a weird rash. Like I do like to be home and I like to get recentered. And so I was sad for the end of sabbatical, but I was for sure happy to like get home to my family and like just my home and I don't break out in urticarial type like things here. Should probably
Yeah, I mean,
honestly look into that.
yeah, I mean, you moved around a lot too. Like you're at all kinds of different pillows and Airbnbs and
It hurt.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
The
do feel like,
Airbnbs will get you.
yeah, and in the original conception when I was going to be on this whole thing, it was going to be like three,
Yeah,
four
3 weeks
spots
in one
maybe.
spot. No, it
Yeah,
was
so
like
like
3 weeks in the south of France at one place.
right, right, and we could have just brought our own pillow or something for that. Like it would have probably been a little simpler. So I mean, you were doing a lot of traveling. Like I feel like you came out fairly unscathed for how much you were bopping around.
We are both at the age and cervical status of needing to like bring our own pillows. Like if we're staying in a nice hotel, it's not an issue. One of the places I stayed literally had a pillow menu. I liked that. Bring bring back pillow menus for everyone.
Hmm.
But yeah, like if I sleep for a night or two on a bad pillow, I actually still don't think I'm totally recovered from that. Like I'm still trying to like get my neck sorted out
Yeah,
after all that. So
I did fairly well actually. Usually I get kind of messed up on hotel pillows and stuff, but I came out okay. I'll take it. Um, what what kind of advice would you have for someone who wants to do something like this? What are things that I know you kind of mentioned some like personal type goals that you had going into this, but what were kind of general principles or overall priorities when you were trying to plan this type of trip? Because I do think it's, the easy way to do this is like, okay, yeah, let me just go somewhere really cheaply and I'll kind of, live a bit of a nomad style for a month. But I don't know how relaxing. It depends the type of person, I suppose, right? If it's someone's very social and they want to get out and about for a month, that could be a good way to do it. But what would you advise someone who's thinking about like, okay, I'm in between contracts or I'm graduating residency and I have some time between my first job or I want to take a year off or something like how would you approach it? Maybe even for like a longer type of trip.
like financially or philosophically?
Both.
Practically. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I just like you said, there was a level of like detachment and just like letting go of being married to any specific outcome. Actually, I have a story and an example of this. When I first got to Nice, and again, I got there before Colin because the idea was that, my week in Paris was up. I was just going to go down to Nice. We were about to celebrate our wedding anniversary. So I was like, this is perfect. I was like, I'm going to get there and I'm going to, check in, get the room all ready, get like champagne for Colin. I literally was looking up like floral shops because I was like, it'll be so cute. I'll pick you up at the airport with flowers, which I've never done. Um, and I got to the hotel in Nice and it was crazy. It was untenable. Definitely a catfish situation. And we've been to the south of France before. Like, I mean, that happens. But I didn't, I wasn't even like that mad. I don't think I freaked out about it. I just was like, oh, I was like, hey guys, like, oh, I don't think this is the vibe. And I just like talked to them and like the people at the front desk were honestly like, yeah, we know. They were like, we're closing in a week to undergo renovations for the rest of the year so that we can like come back shiny and like, kind of like matching the expected vibe, right? Because again, I'm not even being shady. That's just like objectively true. Like we've traveled
Yeah,
a lot.
if anyone's been down there's a lot of those like big old, really old waterfront hotels that like have a big name or something, and they're still pretty expensive, but they just haven't
Yeah.
been. No
Oh my
one's done
God.
anything in those hotels for 70 years.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, seriously, because we did some budget hotels on this trip and they were budget hoteling. Totally fine. I'm just feel neutral about it. but they were like a great deal and they were a budget hotel, and then the experience was a budget hotel. And I feel good about that because, again, like there's parity. This hotel was actually really expensive. That's why I say a catfish situation, like kind of a bigger name brand, very expensive. It was the most expensive stay of the entire trip. That's even crazier. And so when I looked at it, I was like, oh, like respectfully, this is, I don't think it's going to work. Like, can you just like let me out of my contract like these nights here? And they were very nice about it, honestly, because they were like, yeah, I mean, I low key see why you would say that. Like, we need to modernize, and we are modernizing. So anyway, I am sitting in the lobby and I call Colin. It must have been, morning for you because I like just got to Nice. I was like,
Got to work.
hey,
Yeah.
this is not gonna be it. And Colin's like, what? He was like, well, it's gonna be nightfall there, and I have like all my luggage with me. I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna find another place. And I just sat there. I looked on my laptop. I ended up booking a really great deal at a much nicer hotel through like one of the multiple travel portals that I'm always messing with. And Nice was like one of our favorite spots. And definitely the hotel we ended up at, easily one of my favorite spots. And it was at a lesser cost and a way better experience. But I guess my point just being, que sera. Like, and I wasn't too worked up about it either way. I think that if somebody was like an attending between contracts, then I would hope that they could have that level of, just like acceptance, non-judgmental acceptance. And just, I mean, right? Like when you're an attending between contracts, presumably you can fix something like this problem. I totally get it. If it was like one of those med school backpacking trips, you might really be in between places. Colin himself has famously slept on a bench outside in Paris for a night. That was during the college years. That was during the less well-funded years. So, I mean, like, I'm aware that happens. But again, in terms of like the outcome, I was able to actually book a cheaper hotel by doing, like girl math and this like very last minute booking gambit.
Yeah. I mean, I also think one of the things I'm always impressed with you is that you actually just do it. I would have shown up to them and been like, oh my God, this place is horrible. And I would have maybe tried to ask for a different room or something, but that'd have been the extent of it. And I'd be like, well, I guess we got screwed. And then you'd have showed up and been like, what happened here? But yeah, I mean, I when you called me, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to leave work here. I got to get into like a war room. And you were like, no, I don't know. I'll just figure it out. I was like, oh, okay, don't love that. But yeah.
Oh my
out.
gosh. Wait, I even forgot what I did for a second, because what I did
something fairly crazy. You left Nice.
I really did. I left Nice. Yeah, I totally forgot. I was like, no, and then it just all worked out. No,
we got
I
into a
literally,
hotel later. Yeah.
the cheapest hotel room that night was 35 minutes out of town, up into the mountains, like leaving the beach, going up into the mountains into an ancient village. I didn't tell Colin. I just like, I booked one night somewhere else, and then the rest of the time at this nice hotel. I was like very happy with my solution. Again, done cheap. I mean, I think I booked a $200 a night room up in the mountains there. And it was very nice. It was through Hilton, and I felt safe doing stuff like that. And I ordered my Uber. I'm in the car. Notably, my Uber, about 800 meters from the hotel, he got stuck. He must not go up there very much because he got stuck. Like literally drove his Tesla to the point that it got stuck in one of those teeny ancient medieval alleys. And then so we had to get out of that. And then he just was like, I'm going to leave you here. And I was like, oh, sorry. I don't know where I am. Like I can't see the property or anything. And he was like, I think it's 800 meters up there. Insane. It was my like under the Tuscan sun adventure up into the hills. But it was so funny because I was almost there, I feel like, in the Tesla, and Colin texted me. You were texting me multiple times because I think at first you were like, where are you going? Because Colin tracks my Uber.
You have it set to where as soon as it starts, then it notifies me. So all of a sudden I just see it's like you're on a 30-minute trip way out of town. I was like, where are you going?
Yeah. And no, and I was like messing with something, so I didn't answer him. So like 10 minutes later, he's like, "Are you safe? Have you been like taken? Like what's up?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, like it's fine." And I had a very magical time at their remote castle situation.
Yeah, that was a new one for you. That was because we had talked and you were like, yeah, there's a nice hotel like down the street. I'm gonna go there.
Was
And
definitely
but
haunted
you were like,
as
it's a little
fuck.
pricey. I don't really want to pay the rate for tonight. And I was like, just do it for
No.
tonight. We can't have you on the street. And
No.
then yeah,
No, it was a steal. That was a good deal because it was like, and they upgraded me to a suite. I had like a huge, but again, haunted as fuck. Like,
yeah,
so if you don't like that, um, I wouldn't go to the castle. But yeah, it was lovely. And then I just went back down into town the next day. Got you from the airport. We stayed at one of our favorite spots.
yeah, yeah. Really good trip from my perspective. Obviously, I would say a big win for you. You really have come back. I feel like with just more of a can roll with the punches type attitude. Which it probably took this sort of intensive getting you off the grid type of thing for a month to actually experience and also come back and realize like, oh, nothing was on fire. Like it's all good. Things can carry on while I'm gone, and I can check out every once in a while, which I think is
I
pretty healthy
know.
for you.
I mean, I totally agree. I get it. But to play devil's advocate, I just like kind of have that personality where like, consequently we're dealing with a different vice because as you pointed out, nothing bad has happened. And so then I'm like, I should be allowed to play video games for like 6 hours a day. And you're telling me that I can't. So like
Yes.
I only
Well, I
know
think
how
it's
to take
interesting
things too far.
for a behind the scenes. We are recording this just Monday night, right before this is going to come out on Tuesday morning. I don't think we've ever done this before. There's no way you'd have let this get to this point until after this trip, right? Like we'd have done some sort of emergency podcast like a
Yeah,
week
I
before. So
mean, it's fine.
a whole new
I'm not
attitude.
I know. It's all about balance. Life is about
Yeah,
balance. I'm finding the middle path, but it feels good to just, be like less urgent and truly live in a way. Because again, I think to give myself credit and like all of us who are in medicine credit, like it is not for the faint of heart to be an ENT surgeon. And like a lot of stuff was an emergency or it was at least urgent or it was at least like pretty pressing and impactful for a really long time. But I just, like, I'm a highly sensitive person. I absorbed it, I ingrained it, and I never turned it off. So it feels really good. I just want to, like, I mean, I still, again, I like to work. I still want to be a contributing member of society, but I don't want that on call feeling. And that, like, this is an emergency or you
yeah,
can get me 24/7 kind of sense.
yeah. And you don't have to. And we've been trying to get you out of that for a while. So
I mean, this is a conversation for another day, but like, even as I say it now, I'm 90% good with it. I just, what I just said, it felt 90% good and it did ring true to me. But like 10% of me was like, are you a bad person for saying, like, is there a moral failure to say, I don't want to be on call anymore? Like, it is not good for me and I don't want to do it. Again, the bigger conversation.
that's why we've got Joan at the Hippocratic Collective, just to keep reminding you don't have to be on call all the time.
Because what's so funny is I just think a lot of people would say, yeah, I hate being on call, but like I do it because I have to do it or because it's what I'm supposed to do. And so for someone to just say, I don't want to be on call and like, I got a whole new job, just happy as a clam. I think that it evokes a lot of response and emotion in people.
For sure. Yeah. You'd have been mad hearing this 5 years ago.
I would have lost my mind. I would have been like,
Yeah.
do you think you're Jennifer Aniston? Only
Yeah.
she can wake up and not look at her phone for an hour. Like you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
You're
Maybe
out of your
losing,
gourd.
You're losing touch. You're up on your high horse here. Okay, keep you grounded.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being here and recapping this with me. You blew up my spot. We're doing this pretty late, burning the midnight oil to get it out on time. But like I said, we truly have like such a great lineup. The rest of 2025, we just have a lot of really brilliant, innovative people, all slated, all coming on, and I can't wait to share everyone's brilliance with you.
Of course. Well, I'm happy to be here filling in for the moment, and maybe I'll be back next year.
Well, I'm sure you'll fill in again,
Yes.
especially around the holidays.
Yeah.
Colin's holiday rates are affordable to me. So, absolutely. Okay. Well, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Surgeon Interrupted. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate, subscribe, and leave us a review. Until next week, remember, the middle path is the way.